Hello, welcome back to some more early morning barking, talking about BPD and NPD by somebody that has both. Usual introduction from this point in. This is my 5th attempt to make this video, and I'm sick of saying it, I'll be perfectly honest with you. You know the drill by this point, right? This is a really difficult topic to talk about. Not difficult in the sense of can't reveal anything, don't want to talk about personal details as such, but difficult in terms of I don't have any answers to this. And it's a bit annoying and a bit frustrating and stuff like that. It's right. Let me get into this then. This is going to be a bit disjointed and a bit up in the air and all of that. Hopefully you can stick with me and it'll be a bit rambly. We'll see what happens because so I want to talk about when is the best time to reveal to a new person all of these problems that we might be dealing with. And it's not something that I've got a massive amount of experience dealing with, to be perfectly honest. Up until sort of last year, everyone in my life knew me before a diagnosis. For everybody, it was kind of just a case of putting a label on something they already knew was there. It's fairly easy and straightforward to deal with, and you sort of just telling people so they can go, I knew they'd find a name for what was wrong with you. Yeah. And that's fairly easy to do. They're not new people. They're people that already knew me. But since then, when meeting new people, when encountering new people in any context, in any format, you face this question of when do I, for want of a better phrase, let the crazy out? And I don't necessarily have a good answer to that because there are so many variables in this equation. It's impossible to give you a step-by-step guide about when is best to do this, especially with my own somewhat limited experience with it. It doesn't help that the entire nation is pretty much locked down right now. My abilities to meet new people in any way are somewhat limited, as are yours, I imagine. And so experience and practice on this level has been somewhat limited, to say the least. But then it occurred to me, I actually sort of do have a little bit of experience kind of with something quite close to this. Years ago, God, that's a long time. Years ago, I used to be a host on a podcast called Do Ask, Do Tell, which was a news show about LGBT plus issues. Whatever was relevant at the time. At the time we were doing it, it was all about marriage equality and that sort of thing, and that was something we talked a lot about. But something that we also covered, more than a few occasions, was when to tell people about being LGBT+, about how to do that when that comes about, and in fact all the different situations and circumstances in which somebody might have to do that. Because we all, when you talk about gay people coming out, you talk about them. I think that the mainstream thinking is about coming out to your parents, to your family, that kind of thing. And we forget, because we don't necessarily live it ourselves, that it doesn't just stop there. There's coming out at work. There's coming out to friends, to new friends. There's all these times in your life when you have to tell people about this thing about you. And that can be, for a lot of people, an equally nerve-wracking thing for the 100th time as it is the first time. Because just like with mental health problems, is there a good time to just, oh, by the way? And whether or not there is a good time to just blurt stuff out depends, again, on so many variables, on so many things moving, that it's impossible to really judge what's going on. I mean, I don't blurt this stuff out straight away. When people ask me what I do, I say I do voiceover stuff and audiobooks. And it's true. Look, they sound like this. Archie Matthews sat looking out of the train carriage. The landscape outside had changed from sunny winter skies to a thick greyish smog that settled above the hills like a dirty sheet. He wiped the steamed-up window with the sleeve of his woolen coat and wished dearly that he'd brought a flask of tea for the journey. His packet of cheese and pickle sandwiches lay uneaten on the dividing table in front of him, and the gentleman passenger opposite eyed them eagerly. Archie pushed them forward with one finger. "Help yourself," he sighed. "I shan't eat them." I don't like cheese and pickle sandwiches either. But that's what they sound like in audiobook form. That book's The Congregation by A.J. Griffiths-Jones, available where all good audiobooks are available right now, by the way, link in the description below. But that, as a thing to say you do, is so easy to say. I used to say I ran a podcast network and people would just look at me like, don't know what that is. Then for a while I said it and they'd always go, "Oh, true crime. I like true crime podcasts. Do you do a true crime podcast?" No, I don't do a true crime podcast. But anyway, that's so easy to do. I don't just like, "Oh, and I'm doing this YouTube channel about all my mental health problems. You should watch it and find out all the things that are wrong with me." Because that's a bit much, isn't it? That's a lot straight off the bat. And with the things that I've revealed in these videos, the things I've talked about as openly and frankly as I have, I'm quite prepared to accept the fact that there might be some stuff in these that make new people who meet me a bit nervous or a bit concerned or a bit worried. This is actually what concerns me about doing these videos at all. There's a lot of stuff here that kind of requires further explanation. Stuff that I either haven't covered, won't cover, or have yet to cover. Sometimes just getting these little snippets from these videos for a new person might not be good. So I don't throw this out there straight away. Look, okay, so let's just think about this logically. When you're meeting new people in any context for any reason, let's think about whether or not these people actually need to know about any of this. Go back and watch the video on oversharing. That might help. I'll try and put a little card up in the corner of the screen. Does everybody need to know about these problems? Everyone in your life? Really? What about people you see every couple of weeks? What about people you work with? What about people you just see at the gym? What about... Why did I come up with that example? Like I see anyone in a fucking gym. You know what I'm saying? People that come in and out of our lives, we see them occasionally. Do they really need to know all this stuff? Is that important for them to know? I don't feel it is. That was something that I learned from the whole talking about coming out thing. Do you need to do it? Question one, do you need to do this? Is this important? Is this thing going to affect your relationship with this person? If not, shut up. Don't worry about it. Don't stress about it. Just doesn't matter. Right? I think the biggest problem comes when there's somebody that we feel we should tell. Right? It's all well and good filtering people out. That's a good starting phase. But of course, we really, there are some people we have to tell. And I don't know the best way to do this. I really don't. And I don't know what reaction you're going to get either. Because I don't know what your particular set of problems are. And I don't know who you're telling. And I don't know what kind of relationship you have with that person. I find it a bit daunting because you don't know how somebody's going to react. And depending on the kind of relationship you have with this person, I think you have to give them space to react how they need to react. I don't think it's a case of... I see a lot of people who would say, if somebody can't accept you for who and how you are, then they're not worth bothering with. I find that a bit mean and a bit aggressive and a bit unempathic, to be perfectly honest with you. Some of the troubles brought on by these two personality disorders, by BPD and NPD, can be a big deal. And if somebody is at a point where they can still reasonably choose whether or not to become a part of your life or have you be a part of theirs, do we not have some sort of obligation to allow them to make this choice and not be hated for making the choice that they make? They're allowed to not be lumbered with this. And I don't think that making that decision makes somebody a bad person at all. The whole argument that they're in some way not worth bothering with, that seems, I don't like that at all, not in the slightest. People need to be given room to do what's right for them, and we have to kind of understand that and give them that room, because it's an important thing. Potentially, are they entering into some kind of relationship where this is going to be something they have to deal with on some level? And so I think it is important to explain to people what your particular set of problems are and how they affect you and how that affects you day to day and how might that affect your relationship with this person. It seems reasonable to me to do that. And I think it seems reasonable to do that fairly early on, right? I mean, you've got to give people that space. And I think part of that involves not dropping it on them at the last minute. That can be difficult to do because your particular set of problems might cause a problem before you've explained anything. That could be a thing. People could find things out before you're entirely ready, or in a way that you weren't prepared for this to come out. It's all those variables again, all that different stuff to worry about. And on top of that, you don't know how people are going to react. I've seen all kinds of different reactions, both to me and to other people. Sometimes it's, all right, okay, fine, cool, yeah. Sometimes people don't care. Sometimes people are terrified. Sometimes people are interested. Sometimes people actually say, well, thank God you said that, because here's my list of things I've got to tell you. Sometimes people are even like, can you tell me some more about that? Because I do that. The one bit of positive stuff I can say is that personally, there's never been a particularly bad reaction. There's never been a, oh my God, I just can't deal with you, I don't want to know you, any of that. That doesn't happen. And I'm very lucky that at this point, I don't have any problems that are rearing up that an individual really needs to deal with. So it's, again, I skirt this territory of, do I really need to tell anybody anything? What detail do I need to go into? Unfortunately, I've been stupid enough to make a YouTube channel, and now I kind of have to mention it because, what are you doing today, Rich? Well, I'm making a video. Oh, what on? Stuff. That kind of thing. You've got to tell people, right? You've got to be honest about it. That's always the best policy. And you know what? Be prepared to answer questions. In fact, I would say encourage questions, because you don't know what they know. You don't know what they've understood or what they've assumed about anything. Oh, there's so many variables. And I keep coming back to the inevitable conclusion that really the only thing to do is be honest and hope for the best. What else can you do? What other alternative is there? There's no hiding this, and there's no way of knowing how somebody is going to react. You've just got to put it out there. You've just got to own it. Don't forget, and I will say this time and time again, there's no shame in this. There's no embarrassment. You haven't done anything wrong. You haven't done anything stupid. You haven't done anything you should be embarrassed or ashamed about. Something has happened to you. You didn't decide to do it. You didn't think, oh, I'm going to go and get a personality disorder or two. This has happened to you. This is a factor of upbringing or environment or genetics or so many factors that aren't a conscious decision. There's no shame in this, so there should be no shame in just telling somebody. And to a certain extent, that works. I've never been made to feel shame about this. I've never felt bad or regretful. But at the same time, there is still that fear of, if I tell you this, do you not want to be my friend anymore? Do you think I'm going to bother you? Do you think I'm going to just be all these things you've heard about? And I do worry that my main worry is that when you don't give enough information, when you don't answer those questions, when you don't give somebody the room to answer those questions, and they go out and they look on YouTube and they find all sorts of things in general about BPD and NPD and various personality disorders. And there's a lot of really, really bad and misleading content out there that paints us all in such a horrific light and groups us all together. People with BPD do this. People with NPD do that. Why do they all do that? None of us all do anything. Each of these conditions have 9 markers with you need 5 to qualify as having it. We could all have a different 5. I've lost track of the number of how many different possible combinations of these disorders there are. The idea that you could go to a YouTube video and watch 1 or 2 of them and then fully understand what's going on for somebody is crazy. But there's lots of videos out there who claim to have that information in them, and it's just bullshit from beginning to end. Sometimes I watch these and you sit thinking, God, when are they going to talk about a thing that I don't do? But they all tend to come from 1 or 2 sources. Incidentally, I greatly recommend Dr. Todd Grande if you're going to watch a YouTube channel about BPD and NPD, because that's an actual person who knows what he's talking about, right? That's fine. There's a lot of guff out there, though. And I think we have to be ready to field questions about this. You've got to be prepared to be open and be honest. And that brings us back to oversharing again. And it's this vicious cycle that we're all in. What do I reveal? When do I reveal it? What should I reveal? I should be honest. I'm scared to be honest. What if I tell them too soon? What if I tell them too late? What if they react badly? I don't want them to react badly. What if they think I'm going to do this thing that I never do? It's such a horrible, stressful thing. And I don't have a single fucking answer for you. Really. I don't know what to tell you. And this is, I feel like this is the first time I've made a video like this where I can just shrug and go, I don't know. It's a problem, isn't it? This is something we have to deal with. And maybe one day I will learn how to deal with this and do it appropriately. Maybe one day it will not be a problem. I don't know. So good luck with it. That's the best I can do you. I'm so sorry. Just good luck with it. We have to do what we can and just keep going, because what's the alternative, eh? We're not going to sit inside and hide away forever. That's unacceptable. So we have to get out in the world and figure this shit out. If any of you have a clue what to do with this one, please write it in a comment below, because I would love to know. You can teach me some stuff with this, right? It's such a difficult thing to talk about. Like I said, 5th attempt at video. Maybe this one's a bit too rambly as it is, and I'm sorry if it is. I don't know. I don't have all the answers. But maybe together we can sort some out. Anyway, let me know how you get on. Good luck with it, and I'll see you later. Bye.